Y'all asked for it, and now it's time to deliver. It's been long overdue. Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, one of the greatest rivalries in sports history, and we're here to settle who's better. Now, just a disclaimer, this is based on my opinion, so if you disagree, go ahead, leave it in the comment section down below. Just keep it respectful. But y'all know the rules. If you don't, check the description. But it's time to settle the score. Bird versus Magic. Who is the better player? Scoring: Magic 7, Bird 10. While not having any scoring titles in his career, Bird's scoring ability is at the top of the line. He's averaged 20 plus points per game every single year of his career, except for 2 years where he averaged 19 points per game. A perennial 50-40-90 candidate, only being off by a couple percent each year. But let's be real here. If you average 49.6% from the field, 38% from 3, and 89% from the line while shooting an average of 19 shots per game, can we please just give Larry the benefit of the doubt and say he averaged 50-40-90 his whole career? His most impressive year was 1988, as he averaged an insane 29.9 points, shooting a ridiculous 53% from the field, 40% from 3, and 92% from the line. Yes, y'all heard those numbers. Magic, on the other hand, while not being known for his scoring ability, could definitely put the ball in the basket, as he averaged 19.5 points his whole career and never really averaged less than 17 points, and also he was very efficient, shooting 52% his whole career, being as high as 56% in 1 year. In the playoffs, he's had a season where he's averaged 25 points per game. Like, this man can put the ball in the basket and it should not be underestimated. Actually, that same year where he averaged 25 points in the playoffs, he was 2% off from the field and from 3 and 1% from the line from averaging a 22.50-40-90 season. Yes, Magic Johnson almost had a legitimate 50-40-90 season. However, on an all-time scale, I think Magic is fine at a 7. Passing: Magic 10, Bird 8. Like, come on now. Come on, let's be real. Do I even need to explain Magic's passing? The greatest passer of all time, orchestrated the infamous Showtime Lakers, can make any and every pass you can think of. Didn't need to have the ball for 20 plus seconds of the shot clock to be an effective passer, averaging as many as 13 assists per game. 13 assists per game. 3 other seasons of 12.6 plus assists per game. So essentially 13 assists per game for 4 years. 2 years in the playoffs, averaging 15 assists per game. Bruh, I am not going forward. This is just insane, just to read off these numbers. This is insane. And his assist to turnover ratio was really good at like 3-1. Bird, on the other hand, was no slouch on the passing end as well. He averaged 6 assists per game his whole career, very impressive for a more traditional small forward, nearing 7 to 8 assists per game for a majority of his career. To put into comparison, LeBron, to many one of the greatest passers as well, averaged 7 assists and 3.4 turnovers in his career. Bird, on the other hand, averaged 6.3 assists and 3.1 turnovers with a much lower usage rate. So I think for passing, 8 is a pretty good score for Bird. Rebounding: Magic 9, Bird 9. These two players to me are pretty equal in the rebounding end, as they're both high-level rebounders, especially for their position. Bird early on in his career averaged 11 rebounds playing the power forward, but as he moved to the small forward position, he still averaged around 9 to 10 rebounds per game, which is very impressive. In his second year in the league, he averaged 14 rebounds per game in the playoffs, in a championship run at that. Magic, on the other hand, has averaged around 7 to 8 rebounds per game most of his career, going up to as much as 9.6, which is very impressive for a point guard. I remember when I told y'all Bird averaged 14 rebounds per game? That same year, Magic also averaged 14 rebounds per game. Defense: Magic 7, Bird 7. Both players aren't really known for their defense, but they definitely were not defensive liabilities, and if anything, they were good. Bird, although he'd seem like he'd suck at defense, and although he was hidden in the defense at times in parts of his career, they did this because he was a much better help defender as to a lockdown defender. His instincts were great, and his ability to read the passing lanes were great, averaging 2 steals per game for most of his career. Magic, on the other hand, was very similar, and although he couldn't keep up with smaller guards, his role on defense was basically the same as Bird's because of his size. So saying Magic can't guard fast guards or small guards is basically the same as saying Bird can't either, but the only difference is Magic just plays the point guard position. And his ability to read the passing lanes was just as good as Bird's, if not better, as he's had a season averaging an all-time great 3.4 steals per game in multiple seasons, actually averaging near 3 steals per game in the playoffs as well. Leadership, Magic 10, Bird 10. In terms of leadership, these two were the cream of the crop, and anything below a 10 is just blasphemy. Bird led the Celtics to 5 finals appearances, 3 championships, had a stretch in his career leading the Celtics to 6 60-win seasons in a span of 7 years. Magic, on the other hand, led one of the most infamous teams of all time to more than 57 wins every single year before he got HIV, except for 2 seasons where they still won 54 games. He led them to 9 finals appearances, 5 rings total, which is ridiculous, including his rookie year, where he had to play center to replace Kareem when he's a point guard that's 6'9" and was a rookie and delivered. I mean, I could keep on going on, but there's no need to. Value, Magic 10, Bird 10. Another one of those categories that need no explanation for a couple of points. Like I said, when they were healthy, both of their teams were perennial 60-win teams. But in the years that they weren't healthy, their teams went from being a title contender to a bottom seed in the playoffs, shown in 1989 for the Celtics and 1992 for the Lakers. And let's just talk about their value to the league. Before they came, the league was being pre-recorded, and the numbers were horrendous, with the league being viewed as a corrupt league because of cocaine and crack. But when they came, not only did they provide the league with arguably the greatest rivalry it's ever seen, but brought back the entertainment factor in the league, and also dominated the game period. They essentially saved the NBA. Competition, Magic 7, Bird 9. Magic's competition is actually very similar to LeBron, where his conference was weak, so weak that in 1988, a 30-win Spurs team, I repeat that, a team that went 31-51, made the playoffs. And to be frank, for a majority of the 1980s, his competition in the West specifically wasn't really that good. As from 1982 to 1989, there were only 2 teams in the West that won 55 games. Most of them were winning around 54, 52, sometimes as low as 45 for the second seed. But to be fair, his best competition was in the finals, facing the Bad Boy Pistons, Moses Malone and Dr. J 76ers, MJ's Bulls, and of course, Larry Bird's Celtics. On the other hand, Bird's road to a championship may be the hardest an individual player has ever gone through. All of those teams I just mentioned that Magic had to face in the finals, Bird had to face them more often in the regular season, and in the playoffs, he has to meet them before the finals. And even when he does get through them, more often than not, he's gonna see Magic Showtime Lakers there, which is insanely difficult to think of. Clutchness, Magic 9, Bird 9. 2 of the clutchest players of all time. Bird, known as one of the game's greatest assassins, with stories of him telling you what he'd do before he'd do it. In this sense, he was Jordan before Jordan, being able to do it on the biggest stage as well, and so consistently is definitely impressive. However, the only thing holding him back from a perfect 10 is because there were some years that he really should have made the finals and didn't, and he's had some iffy performances in the finals as well, but who doesn't? Magic, on the other hand, although he did have his tragic Johnson moment, for the most part, he's still been one of the clutchest players in NBA history. I mean, rookie year, let me reiterate this again, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being injured for Game 6, he played center, and he dropped 42 points on 61% shooting, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. That, sir, might be the greatest finals performance of all time. And that, sir, is definitely clutch. The baby hook over the Celtics after being down as much as 16 in Game 4. I mean, he's had his fair share of clutch moments. Accolades, Magic 9.5, Bird 8.5. 2 of the most accomplished players in NBA history. Now this one is pretty simple. They're pretty similar in most categories in terms of all-star appearances and all NBA teams, but the 2 rings and 4 more finals appearances and the 1 more finals MVP gives Magic the clear edge. However, not really that much because like I said, their accolades are pretty similar and Bird has 3 all-defensive teams and the Rookie of the Year on Magic, which closes the gap, but still in Magic's favor. Head-to-head, Magic 9, Bird 9. Both of these guys perform extremely well against each other, and as they should, since this is the greatest individual rivalry arguably in sports history. I don't think the stats is what we look at head to head because there's not a lot to complain about. They put up great stats, but it simply comes down to Magic Johnson being 2-1 against Bird in the final. And now let's have a final look at the scores. And now that y'all seen it, the winner with a grand total of 88.5 points compared to 87.5 points. The winner of this Battlegrounds video is none other than Larry Bird. Yes, let me repeat that again. Larry Bird. I can already see all the comments. I can already visualize in my head. You biased Celtics fan. And I know I understand why you would say that. I honestly do. But let me tell you the process as to how I came through these scores. Like, honestly, I'm biased towards the Celtics, 2008 and on. But in terms of Magic versus Bird, I really don't have a preference. Like, I could care less. If anything, I really like Magic more compared to Bird. But let me tell you the whole process as to how I scored these players. Yesterday, I was actually in a voice chat with around 8 to 9 people in the HTP Discord, asking them for quick feedback on how I'm doing with the scores. And really, I was the only Celtics fan in there. If anything, there were Lakers fans in it. I didn't know what the scores were adding up to, and they didn't either. I added it up, and goddamn, it really did surprise me. So then I DM'd the results to my man Dom Church, a big Lakers fan, and several other people, and they came to the conclusion that for the most part, they were questioning some of the defense, which I did raise up from 6.5 to 7. For the most part, everything was right. Nothing to complain about. And then I went to my last resort because I was still a little iffy. And I hit up my man Legend of Winning. And he made a couple of adjustments personally that he would have made. And if anything, the adjustments he made favored Bird. And he said everything for the most part was relatively fine. So I counted his adjustments and kept some of mine. And this is how we came to this score. Because I know when we make lists all time, we all, for the most part, have Magic over Bird. Hell, in my personal top 10, unbiased top 10, I have Magic at 3 all time on my list and Bird at like 7. At least before I did this Battlegrounds video. But after this, I may need to do some readjusting to my list. But there you have it, folks. There you have it, folks. Larry Bird wins this Battlegrounds video by 1 point. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know some of y'all won't. Goddamn. But I'm out, man. Peace.